I've been asked to give a paper on the best practices from a ship manager's perspective. And I thought, first thing is, what's a ship manager? You know, what is a ship manager? There are very many definitions, as commercial as the operational. So I thought it might be interesting just to look at what is a ship manager. And really, my definition is that it doesn't matter whether a ship manager is an in-house manager or a third-party manager. It's the integrated components of ship management, the crewing, the technical, the marine and safety, and the compliance, that really turns a fixture into money. So the management translates market rate and days into profit. And good management maximizes that profit. So to put it simply, good ship management transfers charters into dollars. So with that in mind, I would like to turn the topic slightly on its head and look at practices that are not best. So rather than look at worst practices. So what is failure? What is failure as far as management goes? And the definition I found was failure relates to the state or condition of not meeting a desirable or intended objective and may be viewed as the opposite of success. And what's the cost of worst practice? Some are obvious: loss of a vessel, loss of process. Loss of process leads to loss of money. Loss of reputation, that's important to all of us. Loss of reputation, personal reputation, corporate reputation. Difficult to get, takes a long time, very quick to lose. Environmental damage. And let's look at the personal. Sleepless nights. Your health. So bad management can affect you personally. Imprisonment or fine. We've talked about criminalization. And then, ultimately, of course, we could all end up out of work. But I mean, that affects all of us. It affects your family, it affects your livelihood. So, best management practice ensures a safe, reliable, and efficient, compliant operation. Take this example, and this is an example that actually happened to me, and I have to stress that, hand on heart, this was not a V-ship ship, this was in another company. But as a favor, I took a ship into management. It was a friend of the owner of the company, and he said, "She'll be all right, Alastair." 2 weeks later, slewing ring on the crane went, and as you can see there, the crane pedestal and the boom is across the two hatch covers of number 3 hold. So that's pretty much of a disaster. But it gets worse because it actually happened on the 31st of December. So I was sitting in the office looking forward to New Year in Scotland, which everybody does, and this happened. Now guess where the ship was? She was in Port Harcourt in Nigeria. And the cargo, you guessed, was cement. And it's the rainy season. Yeah? We bought the most expensive tarpaulin ever known in the shipping industry to cover this hatch cover. So the management best practice that I put forward to you is be careful about the business that you take on and avoid bad business. But that aside, we're all great ship managers. We're all really good. We know we're good, don't we? Are there any bad ship managers out there? Any bad ship managers? Put hands up. We're all good. Fantastic. How do we know we're good? How do we know our adopted practices are best practice if we can't measure them? And this leads me on to KPIs. And, you know, when I was asked to give a paper on KPIs, I thought, oh God, poison chalice, you know, because KPIs must be the 3 letters that strike terror into the heart of every shipping executive. Not another paper on KPIs. But we need them. Everybody uses them. Helmet uses them. Coast Guard uses them. Everybody uses them. And how do we know how well we're performing? How do we know if we need to improve? How do we know if our competitors are managing better than us? Do we want to improve? Can we identify how to improve? And it's not the first time it's been said this afternoon, that which you don't measure, you can't control. So the virtuous cycle: plan, do, check, act, and keep it going. So what's the current industry situation in respect to KPIs? Well, to my mind, there are too many KPIs because everybody's got their own KPIs. Comparative performance between companies is difficult due to a lack of standardization. So are you measuring apples with apples, even when people say the same thing? And it was actually, I think I can mention this, but it's actually a tanker safety forum where everybody gives their statistics. And one company gave their statistics and then mentioned in the narrative that they had 4 fatalities. And I said, well, how can your accident statistics be good if you've had 4 fatalities? They said, well, fatalities don't count, do they? And that was an oil major that said that. Due to difficult to mobilize organizational focus and quality improvement, I think sometimes we pay lip service. Do we really get the behavioral-based safety, the behavioral-based quality improvement, rather than the tick box exercise? An additional manpower required to present the same information in different ways. And anybody that's done an offshore tender will know that everybody has got the inerring ability to ask the same question in a different fashion that requires hours of work to reformat the information. And emerging new reporting requirements. So what do we do within the V-Ships group in respect to KPIs? What, when, and how many? And we've identified that it depends on the level within the organization. It depends who's using the KPIs. Some KPIs are used at all levels, and Apostolos mentioned the LTIF, and I commend the OCIMF for the work they did years ago, and it's probably the only example of standardized KPIs that the whole industry has actually adopted and used. And additionally, too many KPIs dilute the effectiveness or focus. So if you give somebody 20 KPIs and they go, oh God, 20 KPIs, they lose the focus. So the 3 levels of performance indicators that we use is operational entity level. So the superintendent, he sees what he needs to use to run the ship. So certificates due, urgent POs, crew reliefs due, planned maintenance overdue. So he sees that on his dashboard, on his screen when he opens his computer. Business level, useful for comparison between entities, focus, motivating managers, overhead optimization, group health safety, crewing, technical. So being able to look at things across, using the breadth of the company to look at everything across all the offices. And then at the group level, strategic for monitoring operational and financial performance. So as a group, we're able to look at the KPIs there. And that is actually the group dashboard for August 2013. So every office, when the manager opens it, he can see how his office is performing individually. And if you can't read it, that's on purpose. No, it's crewing, risk, safety and quality, technical and finance. And each of these can be broken down and drilled into. And it works as a traffic light system, so you can see what the change is month on month, and you can see what the group trend is. Now, I've picked one example of how this can be used to follow the virtuous model, to actually go from identify to use and review. And this is, again, live information up until August this year. And from the start of the year, we noticed a trend that our port state control findings were starting to creep upwards. So the Marine Safety and Quality departments got together and said, what can we do to reverse this trend? We've seen an adverse trend. It's obviously showing that it may not be best practice, it may not indeed be worst practice, but something needs to be done. And if you could just look at I won't go back, but the Q2 figure and then reduction in Q3. And what we did in Q2, and happy to share this with you, is we actually took an initiative that month on month, we would do a league table of the port state control deficiencies that were raised across the fleet, all the offices, 1,000-strong fleet, and take the top 5. Now, nothing novel in that, nothing original. But we said, right, we'll go out to every ship and we will identify on the column on the right, who is the responsible person on board that ship for that deficiency. And we will ask them to sign and return back that each ship has checked that deficiency. So each ship, 5 deficiencies a month, but actually a positive signature saying, I've checked that, and on my ship, it's okay. And you saw from the diagram before that with that initiative, the trend fell. So a quick example of how we go about going from planning to doing. I must mention InterManager because, I mean, one of the advantages the V group have is obviously with 26 offices, worldwide memberships, we can benchmark internally and it's meaningful. But InterManager championed the shipping KPI project, and this has been going on over a number of years and is a topic for a seminar in its own right. But the objective was to allow companies to benchmark against the industry. And currently within the shipping KPI site is 2,100 vessels, 180 companies, and CDI have recently taken it on as their benchmarking tool. It's not, as many people suspect, an ability for ship managers to have a league table so the best ones can go out and market. It's not about that. Nobody, it's very carefully been compiled, so nobody can identify who they're benchmarking against. But you can do it by ship type, you can do it by flag, you can do it by crew nationality, and it's all there, and it's available, and it's free. So if nothing else, from this conference, you can go back and tell your family and friends, a Scotsman stood in front of you and offered you something for free. Believe me, it doesn't happen very often. That's the KPIs. I'm not going to go through them, don't worry, but they were set up by the industry. A panel of experts from the industry put them all together with the university in Norway and compiled them. You go into the website, they're there. If all you do is go in and say, I'll use that KPI, then we've taken a step forward as an industry. And you can assess your own performance and you can benchmark against others within the industry. So, to conclude, best practices from a ship manager. Can you manage without measuring? To my mind, no. Not if you want or need to improve your performance. What, when, and how many? Well, my suggestion, if you're not already doing it, start with the shipping KPIs developed by InterManager for quarterly benchmarking. And practical advice for the use of KPIs, consider what you and your team need for day-to-day management. Pick what you need. Don't take I think there's 72 KPIs. Take what you need for your management. Start with reviewing the information you already have available. Traffic light tools are readily available with existing databases, or make your own. I mean, the V-Ships one isn't the standard InterManager KPI one, but uses the KPIs. And nobody will focus their personal effort on more than 5 KPIs. So best management practice by the use of KPIs is not difficult. So www.intermanager.org, top right-hand side, shipping KPIs, all the information is there. For those that want the statistics, the formula, everything, it's all there and it's free. So ladies and gentlemen, best practice comes from operational safety and environmental awareness. Thank you very much for your attention.